Stepped out my front door the other day and was greeted by this. I've lived in suburbia and exurbia for the better part of 50 years. I never saw a bunny lounging like this, so comfortable less than a mile from the city center that it can kick back on its side and while away the afternoon. Come to think of it, I've rarely been surrounded by such wildlife. My little section of the South Side, a neighborhood known for densely packed row houses and sparse green space, hosts a multitude of these motivationally challenged cottontails, and they're not alone. Aside from the ever-growing horde of hares, there are dozens of squirrels, several raccoons, and even a groundhog under a maple tree. I know, that sounds a lot like the lyrics to the 12 Days of a Yinzer Christmas. And I also know that a mini zoological park is not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the city, but maybe it should. Steel City, after all, is becoming a sylvan city. Pittsburgh is one of the most forested cities in the U.S., with 40 to 42% of its land covered by trees. This is remarkable in a city that ravaged itself to feed the industrial machine. Geography, as always, played a part in preserving some trees. The steep hills and ravines that run through the city were impractical for housing or for mills, and so helped preserve some trees during the peak of industrialization. And as that era passed, green spaces started to spread where mills used to stand. Redevelopment also added to the arboreal advance, as developers added trees and shrubs to residential parcels and shopping centers. Most notably, trees began to return to riverbanks that once were lined with factories and barges. Much of that regrowth has been natural, with large parks like Frick and Shenley and Riverview growing in steadily. But city government has been busy planting, especially over the past 10 years. A recent survey, a recent inventory by Parks and Recreation and DPW found that the city has 31,000 trees out of a planned 60,000 and out of a possible 90,000. That's half of what we should have and a third of what we could have. There's still a lot of work to do. And that work is important. Trees aren't just pretty. They don't just provide homes for squirrels and raccoons and birds. A robust tree canopy in an urban environment can have several important benefits. Trees can help with temperature regulation. On a humid day in Allegheny County, the temperature under a large, robust canopy can be 10 to 15 degrees cooler than on an unshaded asphalt street. And for homeowners, that can mean a significant energy savings. Penn State's Climate Consortium reports that, on average, this area can expect 30 to 35 days where the ambient temperature exceeds 90 degrees. In the 1990s, that average was 5. It's getting warmer, and it's staying warmer for longer periods of time. We can use all the shade we can manufacture. Trees can also help with stormwater mitigation. Each year, Pittsburgh's trees intercept millions of gallons of rainwater. By catching it on their leaves and absorbing it through their roots, they help prevent the overflow of Pittsburgh's combined sewer system during heavy rainfall. According to the Water Collaboratory at the University of Pittsburgh, rainfall intensity in this area has increased 30% since 1970. A warmer climate for us means a wetter climate, and that can put a real strain on the stormwater infrastructure that in many places is more than 100 years old. We can use all the big green sponges we can get. And of course, trees help with air quality. They're natural filters. The canopy works 24/7 to absorb carbon dioxide and filter out other particulates. And that improves respiratory health for all of us. 40-some years after the collapse of the steel industry, Pittsburgh still has some of the worst air pollution in the U.S. We can use all the filters we can get. In a place once defined by steel and smokestacks, the quiet rise of a thriving urban canopy feels both improbable and inevitable. The wildlife lounging in our alleys and the shade settling over our streets are reminders that Pittsburgh's landscape is being rewritten tree by tree. We've made real progress, but the work isn't finished. If we want a city that stays cooler, breathes easier, and manages water more wisely, we'll need to keep planting and keep imagining a Pittsburgh with a Sylvan City isn't a nickname, but a lived reality.